Welcome to the Nick and Matt Show, bringing the player interviews you want to hear and the hot topics you want to discuss. Recording live in studio, here's Nick and Matt.
Episode 129. This episode is presented by Cosmic DG. Well, CosmicDG.com, Cosmic Disc Golf. Check them out. All the things they're doing. Cosmic Health. They've got Cosmic Tournament support. A lot of things going on. Check them out. Nick, you notice I don't have a blue background behind me.
I do. Neither do I. Why is that, Matt?
Well, that's because, Ben, go to 3 up. That's because Nick is in Virginia. I am in Michigan. And Evan, where are you?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. We are in 3 different parts of the country, and Ben is sitting in the studio alone in my studio. So,
yep,
there he is. So, pretty cool. The technology and the training that Ben has gotten to, where he can do this for us. It's always happening. Tonight we got an awesome show. Kristin Tatar, and you know I wouldn't tease that unless I was really confident. Fans of the show know our history.
Yeah,
Kristin Tatar will be on approximately a half an hour from now. And then Kyle Klein as well. Nick, a big show. Nick, what did you do this weekend?
What did I do? I played a charity event on Saturday here at Goliath, so that was fun. And then just hung out. We actually got snow on Sunday, so there wasn't really much to do Sunday. So I watched a lot of disc golf, which was perfect because I got to watch FPO and MPO. And the awesome battle that unfolded over at Waco. I got to say, Waco being one of the shorter courses on the tour, actually the shortest course on the Pro Tour, is still definitely one of my favorites actually to watch. And I was very bummed out about not going this year. And the weather looked a lot better than the year that I went to it. But yeah, I got to watch a lot of disc golf and play some darts and just kind of had a nice relaxing weekend.
Evan, it was a big pro tour, and Statmando is really involved. What is your main role, if you don't mind if I ask, during a tournament weekend?
Like me being Evan? What's my main role?
Yeah, I mean, part of Statmando. What's your main role?
Well, Statmando as a whole, we pretty much always have someone kind of watching the broadcast, thinking of cool stats. If there's anything that comes up from the Pro Tour side that they're curious about, they might ask, and we'll try to research it. But then we're just coming up with the cool stats as we go. I mean, what we're watching and what we see developing, we quickly look into it, see if anything is notable from that, and then share it. So
what are you doing? Are you getting like your feet soaked in a hot bath massage, like as the tournament unfolds?
Yeah, absolutely. On Friday, I was doing that. I was getting down and dirty. We split up the team, so it's not one person doing it the whole weekend. But then weekend, I was at least hands off doing it from my phone. The team is pretty good. I was maybe just chiming in a little bit with some ideas and whatnot. I will say on Sunday it was great. We went skiing, did a nice half day. It was kind of spring skiing. Then we went to Treehouse in Deerfield, Mass, which is their expansion one in Western Mass, because we were skiing out in Western Mass, and saw the scores coming down. I'm like, hey, it's getting exciting. Pulled it up on my phone while enjoying a nice Treehouse beer outside on their lawn chairs. And unfortunately, but also fortunately, saw what happened with Hole 18 for the women. So that was exciting in a nice casual setting, not having to look up the stats, but someone else on our team was.
Absolutely. So a lot going on for all of us. I wanted to hit a few cool highlights for me. I was traveling last week as well, and I was in Madison, Wisconsin. Shout out to Cece and Dr. Ben. Now, Cece is about to become a doctor. They're both doctors, and they like disc golf, and they're fans of the show for a long time. Shout out to them. I got to play in a snowy round with them and then talk about what they are doctors for. Cece is a doctor, or just about, very close, graduating like in the next month or two with her chemistry doctorate. And Ben, ecology. See, I can't even say the word.
Ecology.
Well, he's an ecologist. Ecologist. There we go.
Ecological doctor. I don't know.
Looking at like invasive species that are like taking over water, and like obviously you're really into it as a doctor. So I said, come out to Maple Hill. I said, check out the water there.
Wait. Speaking of invasive species in water, the Statmando team does a lot of cool things. I'm like 99% sure that's what Carl does, who's been on this podcast and was also on the Statmando charity trivia show. If Carl, if you're watching, drop in the chat if that is what you do. or if I'm messing it up and someone else on our team does it. And if so, I'm sorry. But I think it's what Carl does.
Nice.
So yeah, it was crazy. I wasn't prepared for the snow. I posted a little bit on the social Instagram stories, and it was fun. The conversations were great. I feel smarter having hung out with them, but they liked the show, so that's really cool.
So I'm gonna interrupt you really quick. So we have intern Ben tonight producing the whole show, and I already got to give him strike one. You ready?
Yeah.
So at the bottom of our screen, we have the overlay that kind of like scrolls across, and underneath it just said the Open at Belton is taking place March 18th and 19th. It is actually the Open at Austin this year.
All right, give me a break.
Quick little, just have to, kind of bust
Give
his
me a
chops
break.
little bit,
I was
anyways
feverishly typing is my understanding. He's killing it for us. In fact, while he's on screen here, intern Ben's Disc Golf Expo is taking place this weekend, and I am absolutely stoked to be a part of it. If you're not there and you're in the Northeast, you're absolutely missing out.
You are.
Ben, give us a quick highlight rundown. Tell people what they're gonna get if they go.
So here's gonna be awesome vendors like ThoughtSpace, Discmania, MVP, Marshall Street, Maple Hill, Disc Golf 978. We have some awesome influencers: Jesse from Trash Pan and Robbie C, Josh from Overthrow giving freeform reviews, and the guys from the Nick and Matt show, the show you're watching right now, are going to be there. And Matt is giving a Nick and Matt show experience. He's dropped a lot of money to give you, the fans, cool experience. So, yeah, you can come say hi to
Swing
3
by.
out of the 4 Nick and Matters.
Swing by. I have plans to do something kind of cool, but also I think we're going to give out stickers to about 200 people. And I think there's going to be a lot more than that. I think there's going to be thousands of people, but 200 people. And I think what we'll do. Oh, you found them.
Got him.
Yeah. If they stick the sticker on something and tag the Nick and Matt show, I think we're going to do a drawing or a prize for people who hashtag or tag at Nick and Matt show. We're going to give away something massive. So come get a sticker. Take a picture of what you put it on and hashtag it, or add us. Make sure we get it. That's a lot. There's so much content to talk about from this week. But what we're going to do is pass it over to Evan now. Statmando recap for us of the Waco. Is it the Waco Annual Charity Open?
Yeah,
Spells
just
Waco.
Waco.
Is it just Waco?
I don't know. I feel weird saying the Waco, even if you're referring to the abbreviation. So I just always say Waco. And sometimes I put it like Waco, like the city, like a capital W and the rest lowercase. Some I do all caps.
DGPT-Prodigy presents Waco.
Okay. Give it to us, Evan.
Yeah, not the Waco. Okay,
not
awesome.
The Waco,
cool.
Waco.
All right. Well, we had some dramatic finishes in both divisions. Let's start with Kyle Klein winning it from the chase card. He is the most recent chase card winner. Of course, we would have to go back to Simon Lizotte at MVP Open last year. Eagle McMahon before that at 2020 Idlewild. Matt, you like to say you were there for that one. Then before that, we have Colton Montgomery winning at 2020 Waco. That was a shortened event, but still, announced beforehand that was the final round. He won from the chase card. Interesting enough, all 4 of those players won with Discmania. I find that just what
cool.
are the chances?
Cool.
Pretty rare. Neat fact there. Not that I think anything with the plastic leads you to win from the chase card, but really interesting there. But Kyle played absolutely phenomenal in the final round. He shot 13 under in that final round, which was the hot round for the entire weekend, which I believe would have been a 17 under if it was with the par of a few years ago when Paul Macbeth shot the 18 under. I believe it was 1 stroke shy of that. I actually don't 100% know. I'm kind of winging it here. But incredibly good finish with Adam Hammis leading most that final round and just not catching up to Kyle Klein, who was in the card above, getting some extra birdies. Incredible finish. Kyle Klein birdies 18. Adam Hammis wasn't able to get the birdie on 17, so he essentially had to ace hole 18 and didn't get the ace. Ended up just getting a par for solo second. Interesting enough, it's Adam Hammis's first Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite podium that wasn't a win. He had no other podiums except his 2021 MVP Open win. I just find that interesting. Obviously, lots of very good finishes, lots of top 10s. Moving on, Calvin Heimberg and Cole Redullen snag the 3rd spot. Calvin Heimberg is now number 1 in Disc Golf Pro Tour points, thanks to his Las Vegas win and now a podium at Waco. Calvin Einberg has been number one in disc golf pro tour points a heck of a lot lately. 23 of the calculated weeks. That's just when an event happens and new points are calculated. He has led for 23 calculated weeks, which is the most of anyone since the start of 2020. I think Ricky Wysocki's around 18, and then Paul McBeth's good amount below that in third. He also has not dropped outside of the top 3 in disc golf pro tour points in a week that he actually had an event to count towards. So excluding the wraparound silvers that he didn't participate in. But as soon as he played his first event, LVC, he was up into the top 3. And going back every week to the start of 2020, he has been in the top 3 of disc golf pro tour points. I think that really speaks to his hot starts and then keeping it up all season long. Absolutely incredible. Of course, Matt's favorite player there.
I thought for a half a second that he was going to go back to back, and I said, "This will be awesome." The year of Calvin.
I thought it was Calvin going to win it when Adam started to get a few extra pars and wasn't getting those bogeys late, and Kyle Klein was making the push from Chase. I thought it was Calvin going to take it home, but Kyle kept on pushing and ended up with the win.
It's because we didn't do picks, though. I didn't have the opportunity to pick Calvin, so
right.
We're gonna have to do it
That
again.
could have been it.
Yeah. And Cole Redong getting, I believe, his first podium of his career at Elite Majors. Really good finish for the youngster there. And Kevin Jones rounding out the top 5, who has had a pretty dang good start to 2023 after, I'll say, quote, underwhelming season that everyone liked to say. But I think I like to say he still had a pretty decent season last year, just maybe didn't have any of the wins that was maybe expected of him too. But incredibly good start. Him and Kyle Klein both, I think, would have been dubbed an underwhelming season. And Adam Hammis, all of those would have been dubbed an underwhelming season last year, and they're all off to great starts. Kyle Klein also, going back to him, has the second most active top 30 streak from Elite Series and Majors. Just one behind. Second most, just not one behind, excuse me. A few behind Gannon Burr. For just the last 2 seasons, he's one behind, but Gannon Burr's streak goes a touch longer to the year before. So again, incredibly consistent, even though he had, again, quote, an underwhelming season last year. I'm curious what he says about that if we get it in. Hopping over to the women, this was a dramatic finish as well. Kristin Tatar takes it home. And if you watch, we all saw it happen. Ella Hansen was up to a 4-stroke lead, I believe, in the last 3 holes, I believe. I think it was going into hole 16. She had a 4-stroke lead. Unfortunately, got a few bogeys, went bogey to end it. And I think most notably on hole 18, had a 1-stroke lead. She was last on our card because of the bogey on 17. All 3 of the ladies who went first all laid up. Ella Hansen with their big arm decided to go for it, ends up going too long, a little right, goes OB. A lot of people questioning that decision, but she ultimately didn't make the upshot from there into a great spot. She was a little outside the circle and unfortunately didn't hurt her putt. Meanwhile, Kristin Tatar's layup then executed a perfect approach shot right to the edge of circle and made that clutch putt to win it in regulation, not even letting it go to a playoff. So flip the positions right there to get the win. That is only Kristin Tatar's second win from trailing leading into the final round at Elite and Majors. We have to go back to 2021 D-Glow. So all over 8 standard stroke play Elite and Majors last year were all won with her either tied or leading into the final round. I think that's really interesting. She didn't trail a whole bunch, so that can add to it. But
yeah, that's true. Not as much opportunity.
Yeah. Ella Hansen takes home her 6th podium of her career, which all things considered is absolutely incredible. I mean, she's still pretty new to tour. Don't forget that. She signed up for the PDGA in 2020, played her first Disc Golf Pro Tour event in 2021. And here she is. You know, some may say she had the victory and lost it, but to be in that position so quickly really speaks to her rise in disc golf. Owen Scoggins getting another sneaky 3rd place, great finish, and Sarah Hokum getting 4th. This is her best finish in almost a year from when she podiumed at Champions Cup.
Wow. That is a full recap. That was totally awesome.
Yeah, let me touch up. I don't love to touch on the not so good news, but I think it's worth at least mentioning. Of course, that says a lot just about how things are in the sport. Is that Paige Pierce finished outside the top 10 at 16th. She was 14 strokes back of Tatar. She played her worst event rating since the start of 2022 in the last two seasons. It was tied with U.S. Women's actually, but tied for the worst. In the last two seasons as far as event rating goes. And speaking of event rating, Kristin Tatar actually shot under her rating. She is a 988 rated player and averaged 987.33 on the weekend. Still able to grab the victory while playing under your rating. That sounds nice. And then over on the MPO side, Eagle McMahon getting off to a little bit of a slow start. He finished 35th. He finished even par in round one. That marks his last three even or worse rounds on tour, all at Waco. Waco 2023 was the most recent, and then he shot over par once and exactly even at 2021 Waco of two of the three rounds that year.
Oh man, good and bad, all
Crazy
of it.
jam-packed week.
Yeah, and we are going to go through some of it. We'll go through some
yeah.
of the leaderboards later and get some reactions from us.
I'll kind of just react to, I think one of the biggest things is, we saw over at Vegas the way Calvin took down the win against Kevin playing a little bit safe coming down the stretch. And then same thing with Ella Hansen. And I think the biggest thing about the Ella Hansen loss is just the amount of pressure that she was feeling in those last 3 or 4 holes, I think was just insane, because 16 is a relatively easy par 4. I think it's actually the easiest hole in the course. She threw her drive OB left, which is just a mistake that, you're not confident right now. Your pressure is building up right now. You got a couple holes before your first Elite Series win potentially. And then 17, she had an incredible drive, went with the standstill forehand that kind of just popped up on her. Almost went out of bounds, came down, ended up sitting in bounds, but then not being able to get up and down. And then 18, this is kind of one of the biggest things that I've seen on Twitter, is everyone's like, oh, why wouldn't you just play the simple hyzer? I mean, we know Ella and she crushes it. She wasn't really trying to attack the basket, I think, but she was playing the game style that she had practiced. She knows that she can get over to that pond on the right-hand side. There is a lot of landing room over there. I think just that upshot, though, especially in those conditions, massive tailwind. This is, you got to get it in for par now, because they play it as a par 4. You got to get in for par just for the, the playoff if Kristin hits that putt. And realistically, I think just all that pressure added up, and, it happened. Kristin missing a few putts going into those last 9 holes, missing some key putts that you're used to seeing Kristin make. But then clutching up on 18, it was just kind of an incredible fought battle between both of them.
Yes, it's pretty cool. Just chatting here with Kristin, getting her lined up to join into the show here soon. She's not here yet, but she will be soon. So let's continue on with some of our talks here. We're going to do a leaderboard review. If you see me looking off to the left, I'm not usually sitting in a hotel room like this, so I got my notes in different places. But Wysocki, I don't want to say I think. Disappointment to see Wysocki not at another event. He says he's looking to come and show up at the Open at Austin. Yeah. And then Kona and Colton made an announcement that they're off tour indefinitely until Kona's health situation is figured out. So those are a few competitors that Kona and Colton, notably, as having the wins at that event. So unfortunate they weren't there. Thinking, what'd you think of Nico's in about 1 minute or less, because we got to bring on my brother Josh, but what do you think about Nico's apparel choice with the white stripes? Nick, what'd you think?
Oh, it's the good old referee shirt. No one's going to be calling a time violation on the referee out there. So I thought it was funny. It was within the PDGA rules of being a shirt that he's allowed to wear, and at that point I think it did the job that it was supposed to do, to where us on our podcast the day after are talking about it. So realistically, he's getting the attention that I think he probably slightly wanted out of that shirt.
Slightly? It's starting to feel like it's like a Drew Gibson thing. But Evan, what did you think? Good entertainment?
I thought it was hilarious. I loved it and want him to do it more things like that. If with the way disc golfers' closets are, he probably will wear that every single tournament weekend. But I love the idea, and if he has more things up his sleeve along that kind of thinking, I'm all for it.
Yeah. And also, Evelina's putting is getting a lot of attention. She's putting down good rounds minus the poor putting. So it's coming back to putting on a few holes. And I counted up, I think, 3 holes. Maybe it was 4. But had she just parred it, she would have been in the top 10 easily. And I think if I did it correctly, she would have been really close to top 5 even. So either way, unfortunate, but really cool. It's going around the internet, kind of viral, disc golf viral. Paul is kind of showing tips and techniques. It appears, I don't know if anyone has confirmation on it, but it appears that he's showing tips and techniques for how to release the putter from the hand in a way that will hopefully benefit her. So that's pretty cool. All right. With all that being said, we still haven't named the segment yet, but I think we're going to call it like what's on Josh's mind. So let's go and let's find out what is on Josh's mind. Here we go.
All right, I'll start with the congratulations to both Kristin Tatar and Kyle Klein for their wins this past weekend. As a fan, I'd like to say thank you for giving us some exciting disc golf to watch. But to continue talking as a fan, which I am and which most of you listening are, I'm disappointed once again that a player in contention for the win did not know they were in contention for a win. Let me emphasize once more, I'm speaking as a fan of the sport, not as a player, a caddy, a sponsor, or even a coach, but as a fan of sports competition in general, and in full recognition that many individual sports, especially golf, that the mental aspect is a significant part of the game. So part of what I'm watching for is how the best players perform when the pressure is the highest. So here we have Kristin Tatar. And although she stumbled throughout the final round, she did come out on the top, taking the lead on the very last hole of the event. And the way it went down at first glance, I'm tempted to call it a gutsy performance by one of the best to do it. But then she goes and tells us this, quote, "Coming into the last hole, I didn't think I had any chance of winning. I didn't know the scores, and after I had made my upshot, then I checked the scores. Then I was like, Seth, I think I have a chance to win right now. I didn't know that." And then earlier in the round, she said, "I thought I'm not playing for the win in my head." And this is not the first we've seen on this, lest you think I'm only picking on Kristin. We've seen players win and we've seen players lose, and they didn't know the score when it mattered. In 2017 GMC in Vermont between Pierce and Holcomb, Pierce wins and Holcomb said, "I didn't know." 2020 Eagle McMahon Deglow unknowingly wins and says, I won? Really? What?" And it tells us he employed that strategy on purpose and quoted as, "That's why you don't check scores, no added pressure." Compared to other players, not only, but specifically Paul Macbeth on hole 17 putt at World Championships, who has told us that he knew what was on the line when he hit that putt, or quite frankly, compared to any playoff hole in any event where the players situationally must know what is on the line. And as a fans, we love that. Again, it may be a perfectly viable, and maybe it's an excellent strategy for a player. Not talking about that. But as a fan, what I want is I want them to know the score. I want them to know the exact scores as they unfold. I want them to feel the moment, to experience the pressure, to know what's on the line, and then I want to see them execute. Golf is a game of both physical skill and mental strength. We know that. And I don't want them to find a way to strip the mental pressure away. I want them to stare down the dramatic moment directly in the face. Why do we have phrases like ice in their veins or they have a killer instinct? Why does that mean something? It's because individuals with those attributes almost always know the full context of the situation, but yet they still perform. That's what makes it incredible. We know this to be true in plenty of other high-profile sports. Competitors almost always know the situation. Think of a closing pitcher, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, 2 strikes. They literally know exactly what the situation is, and yet they must still throw a perfect pitch. Knowing the situation ramps up the pressure, which is what makes it a great performance. And that has always differentiated the greats. We don't celebrate someone who can throw a 99-mile-per-hour fastball with no pressure, but fold when something is on the line. We don't celebrate somebody who can make all of their circle's edge putts, but can't make a putt when something's on the line. Instead, we celebrate performance when there is pressure on the line. I feel the same about disc golf. Personally, as a fan, I want to see the best of the best perform under pressure when the stakes are at the highest and the player knows the moment and they still execute.
All right. So first of all, Josh's background looks way better than all of ours now. We got to step up our game. I'm in a hotel,
Yeah, no
Nixon, a dungeon, and Evans, and I don't know where.
Yeah.
But all that being said, I think that first of all, he brings up some interesting points. As a fan, we love drama. A fan's perspective loves drama. That's what we want to see. So what we saw was dramatic on the final hole. It feels like had there been a scoreboard, is what I'm hearing not Josh say, but had there been a scoreboard that actively is like over the basket, right? And it's telling them before every throw, this is what's on the line. I mean, that would change the game drastically. Evan or Nick, any small comments on this? And then we're going to get ready to jump into an interview with Kristin.
Yeah, I think coming from a fan's perspective, how weird would it have been if Kristin walks up to that final hole and then lays it up? Like, let's say she was 20 feet away, thinking in her head that she has no idea whether she's going to win the tournament. And we've seen pros in the past not know the scores. Like Josh was just mentioning, Eagle saying, wait, I won. I think, imagine if she had a 25-footer and just laid it up, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, by the way, you're in a playoff. If you had just made that putt, you would have won the tournament. So coming from a fan's perspective, yeah, a playoff would have been cool to see, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it's like watching her drain that 30-ish footer, probably 30, 33 feet, was incredible to see. And then her knowing the scores at that point, her knowing the scores, what that final putt meant, just made that moment, I think, a lot more incredible. And, I didn't know that she doesn't check the scores until she had said it in her post-round interview. And I think a majority of the pros at least have a pretty decent idea. Like Adam Hammes was saying in his interview, how, he has a pretty good idea of what people at least are doing on his card. And then with the beauty of UDisc Live, it's allowing every single player to know what everyone else is doing. So Adam obviously knew that Kyle was, making a really big charge coming from the chase card. But I think as a fan, we want to see the most excitement that we can out of any single event.
That was a good point.
Yeah.
Good point on that putt. I mean, she knew it. She had to hit the putt. Evan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll say this. I mean, as a fan as well, and want to see the best disc golf possible. How do we see the best disc golf possible? Is the players playing how they're comfortable. So Eagle McMahon winning at 2020 D-Glow, he had a phenomenal round because he was comfortable. Let's throw a scenario here, and I'm not saying this would have happened, but if Tatar knew the scores going into hole 18's drive, and then she thinks she has to make it over the water to contend, like it could have made it a lot less exciting. Whereas she played the hole 18 the best way she could, I believe. And obviously it turned out to be an incredible finish to put the pressure on Ella instead. Like, I think it's a viable strategy anyways, which it's a side comment to my point being, players should play how they're comfortable. I think it makes, like, coming from playing other team sports, the score at all times. So it is weird to like grasp, but it's what they're comfortable with. And they'll play the best how they're comfortable.
Yeah, I love that take. And I'm glad we had something contrary to Josh's opinion. But at the same time, I think I feel like players knowing is, in general, it is more exciting because what happens too. Let me go down to this side. This was where my brain was going. I got stumbled there. If they don't know, the conversation would be a lot different had she said she didn't know and then she lost by one, right? Did we see that at the Pro Tour finales? Was it Sarah Hokum?
Yeah, so Sarah Hokum with her putt with the kind of qualifying.
Right. So the conversation would have been drastically different today if that was the case. So I don't want to say we got lucky, but had she known maybe she was 1 or 2 strokes out coming down the last few holes, and it was a different story, you could do the what ifs and all that forever. But my point is, I think you got to kind of be aware, and maybe she's more aware than we know, and maybe she's more aware that she commented. That's fine.
Yeah, and last thing is, if you're that type of player who doesn't want to know, or you're just a little bit more relaxed about seeing it that way, that's the reason why it is important to have a caddy who doesn't need to have the mental aspect and can look. If there's a situation where you need to go for it, like if that was like a birdie or die hole, and Tatar's like, if she laid up, it's essentially losing, then it would have been a different story, and hopefully her caddy would have been like, hey, just so you know, you need to birdie this, or something along those lines.
Good point. And I know Missy Gannon and her boyfriend do that. Nick, it's never out of season for beef jerky. It's always in season, but the tour has started. What are the pros carrying in their bag as a snack? I know we've been enjoying Double G craft jerky, but we've got word that they're doing some new things. Nick, go ahead and tell us about it.
So Double G Craft Jerky, which actually, give me 1 second.
Give me a second. Whoa.
Switch
Changing
over
out the hats.
and talk about how the hat's a little bit big on me. Don't get me wrong, because it's not broken in. But Double G Craft Jerky does offer hats. They're adding a new flavor in the upcoming weeks, which will be actually for a disc golfer. So go ahead in the comment section, make some comments. Who do you think is going to be the next flavor in disc golf? We've seen the Nate Sexton Hot and Spicy. We've seen the Paul Macbeth, the McBeast Barbecue. So that's one of the new things that Double G Craft Jerky is doing. They're also offering player packs with 4 TDs. They come with hats, koozies, minis, coolers, pins, and of course, any jerky flavor that they have in the 1 ounce bag or the 2.5 ounce options. One of the coolest things that they do, and I think this is kind of like a Netflix, Hulu, is they do a monthly subscription to where you sign up for it, you click it, and there you go. You never have to worry about it again. And every single month, beef jerky is going to be dropped to your store. They've been adding some new players on the team, as you've seen in the Disc Golf Pro Tour on the Disc Golf Network. We've seen commercials with now Randon Lana, Isaac Robinson, a couple other people, and Double G just really backing all of this. And one of our favorite guys over at the Double G Craft Jerky is Ted, who's just been an incredible guest with us, an incredible partnership. And so we want to show them the best support that we can. So check it out, Double G Craft Jerky, and pick up your favorite flavors. Mine is the McBeast Barbecue, big barbecue guy, and I absolutely love it.
So is beef jerky and chill a thing? You mentioned Netflix and Hulu. So we got some beef jerky and chill. Order some and
Get
you'll
that hot
warm
and
up.
spicy, and things might get hot and spicy. You never know.
Nick,
Oh,
good job. Okay.
No problem.
Without further ado, I'm under the impression out of studio, intern Ben, do we have a guest in the green room?
We do.
Okay. So without further ado, let's welcome to the show for the very, very first time. The accolades are too many, but current and reigning world champion. We'll start there. Let's go to the Pro Tour finale champion, and most recently, the Waco Annual Charity Open tournament winner, Kristin Tatar. Welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being on the show. We have teased out that you've been coming on multiple times, and we always get crap because something falls through on our side, something has fallen through on your side, mostly our side. That's our fault. But at the same time, we are just so excited for you to finally make your Nick and Matt Show debut. And first off, congratulations on such an awesome win, the first win of the 2023 season. Finally back on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. What does this mean to you? And we'll just start from there.
Well, first of all, thank you. It was a crazy tournament for sure. Starting off with a course record and then kind of like falling back a little bit. And then to win such a way, this is something that I couldn't have like dreamed about, I guess. Definitely one of the wildest wins I've ever had. And just because of the situation and me not really like checking the scores. Usually I know the scores very well, but I don't know what happened in this tournament. I guess after the double bogey and then missing a short putt on the next hole, it kind of like got to me. So in my mind, I already thought, okay, this train is gone and I'll just have to cruise until the end.
Wow.
But to win, it's crazy.
Wow. Yeah. So you might have been in the green room when Josh was giving his little speech on the fans' perspective. And it's like the fans love to have the drama. Drama unfolded because you knew the score for that last putt, correct?
Yes, because I mean, my approach shot wasn't perfect. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I'm like, I should look if I'm like second, third, I don't know where I position. And then I opened up UDisc and I saw that I was just one behind Ella, and the next place was already like 3 strokes behind or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then I told Seth, oh my gosh, I have to make this putt. Then I have a chance to like tie at that point when I saw the scores, because I mean, yeah, Ella was OB and the best she could do, I assumed, was to get a par. So I knew I had to make this putt. But yeah, when I realized that she's taking a bogey, then I thought, oh my gosh, I could just win it here right now. And then I told myself, I have to do it.
Wow.
Realistically, I kind of want to hear your mindset going into that, because on hole 14, you had put out a great drive, and I think that's one of the putts that you were talking about missing. And then 16, Ella came into some trouble. 17, Ella also came into some trouble. And on 17, you also had another putt for birdie. I think about the same distance as you were putting on hole 18. Now, realistically, on hole 18, where your putt was, you could have played it up, had a tap in par, and you guys would have gone into a playoff. Did that cross your mind at all? Or was it, blocking out all the putts that you had previously missed and just focusing on this one putt?
Yeah, this was the first moment I realized I have a chance of winning, because the other putts, I didn't think they would matter that much. Like, I had no idea we were so close. I don't know why. I don't know where my thoughts were. But yeah, the last putt I knew I had to make. I didn't even think about laying up because I knew I could settle it right there and then. And of course, I would choose that option instead of laying up and going into playoff. Yeah, I had this was my only option, I felt like.
Okay.
So disc golfers always think they can play better, but how would you grade your final round performance? If you use a scale of 1 to 10 or whatever, how did you feel you were performing in this last round?
It's hard to judge, I won, so obviously I did something correct. But yeah, there's always room for improvement, like you said. And I feel like I was mentally very strong and was in the present moment at all times. But since I didn't have a perfect off season where I could train the way I would have liked, then I feel like there's a little bit of like inconsistency in my shots. So this is something that definitely needs some improvement, but I'm not too hard on myself. I know it will get better week after week.
Absolutely. So tell us about Ella Hansen, competing against her. I know disc golf is not a head-to-head sport directly against each competitor, but you were there, and as you said, you felt like you were lagging behind a little bit. Did you step back at any point and go, wow, Ella's really good? Like, what were your thoughts about Ella's competition?
Yes, of course I thought she was really good. I mean, she was playing very well and making putts from everywhere. Her drives were very good, and it gave me the impression that I have no chance because, I mean, I felt like my skills were a little bit off. So it was really hard to catch up with her. Yeah, so seeing her like stumble towards the end, at that point, I thought it doesn't matter anymore, but obviously it did.
So you traveled over from Estonia, is that correct, to the US a couple weeks ago or right before the tournament?
So on 4th of March, so like
Okay.
a week before.
Okay, so how long does jet lag take to be removed from your system? Like, is it a week? How long does it feel for you? Are you still dealing with it?
Maybe a little bit. I still go to bed like 9 o'clock, but it's not too bad. I think the first evening I was in bed and sleeping at 8 p.m. So, and waking up like 4 a.m. So that was kind of interesting. But right now it's getting better after each day, and it's all good. I think traveling to the US is a lot easier than going back home.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Gotcha. I know a lot of people have kind of been asking this, people saying that you were rubbing your elbow or rubbing your back throughout the live coverage. How is everything going with previous injuries? How do you feel like the rehab has been, and how do you feel like the season is going to play out kind of with those?
I think everything is going according to plan. I mean, my surgery was like 3.5 months ago, so obviously it's a little bit like sore and sensitive, and I'm still like getting into like throwing discs and that kind of stuff, and doing like these powerful movements. But right now I feel like I have nothing to really complain about. I'm just taking one step at a time and not really like pushing myself too hard. I think this is the key in recovery, not just pushing myself. Yeah.
Okay, we got questions all over. The chat right now is going wild. They love you. The fans love you. Last year, you had tremendous performance, and so many people were singing your praises. You won the world championship. You are the current and reigning world champion. I've heard you say that you're not putting a lot of pressure on anything because you have nothing to prove. But coming out with a win and starting that way, does your mind start thinking what might be the rest of the season?
I try not to, because I feel like living in the future or living in the past, it just creates trouble for me and for anybody else out there. So it's always better to be in the present moment, think about what I can do right now to make things better. So yeah, I try not to trouble myself with these kind of thoughts, to be honest.
Okay. And so when you went back home to Estonia, we saw that you received, is it the highest sports award that Estonia has to offer? Is that correct? Tell us about that.
Yes. So our government gives out these awards to athletes from all kind of different fields. And I think there were like 145 people applying. And so they picked out 6, and I was one of them. And I think it's a huge thing for disc golf in general to be recognized in that level, and disc golfer. Yeah, it was crazy and mind blowing. I mean, yeah, I'm very proud.
Did you have to go somewhere to receive that award and meet certain people? Like what was what did you have to do because you received that award?
Yeah, there were like different other people who were like doing science and all sorts of really important people, and I got the award from our prime minister. So yeah, it was a really special moment.
Wow, awesome. So let's jump all over the board here. We saw that the Disc Golf Pro Tour announced that they're going to have a portion of a Euro Tour as part of the Disc Golf Pro Tour Silver Series. Are you participating in that or have plans to?
Yes, I plan on going to a few events. I think I'm going to go into Norway, Sweden, and yeah, it's a short trip. I don't know everything by heart, but I have planned a couple of events in Europe as well.
Okay. Let's jump around a little bit more here. What courses do you remember from last year? So you did a lot of the tour last year that maybe you're looking forward to going back to. I'm sure you get asked that question a lot, but are there any new tournaments that you're planning to do this year in the US?
I think I have a couple of new ones. Yes. Again, I don't even remember them.
That's
But
okay.
yeah, I have quite a few new courses that I attend this year. But I'm really looking forward to competing in Champions Cup again this year. And of course, Jonesboro. I think these were the ones that I really, really liked. And going back up north, playing Maple Hill and playing in Vermont. I think these are one of my favorites.
Okay.
Very
What do you
cool.
do with what do you do with your free time between tournaments? Like right now, maybe. Like, what do you like to do besides practice disc golf? What do you like to do?
Well, last week I liked to sleep a lot. So basically all my free time I was just resting and sleeping. But yeah, I read books. I guess we will try to do some sightseeing if there's something around, but mostly it's just like recovering and relaxing and nothing like too special.
Okay. Nothing too special, but is there a food or a candy or something that the US has that you don't get in Estonia? Is there something like that that you're like, I have to find where that is on each stop?
Mm,
Not really?
I think I like kombucha, and I think you have a
Wow.
lot like better options here than back in Estonia. So whenever I come over here, I'm like a kid at a candy store picking up like new flavors and trying out stuff. So that's what I really like.
Kombucha. Yeah, that's an interesting drink for sure. I've enjoyed some of that. What's your favorite flavor of kombucha if you had to pick one?
I think the last one I tried was lavender and mint, and I
Lavender
really
and
liked
mint.
it.
Wow, lavender and mint. That's awesome. Okay, so Seth Fendley is now the brand ambassador and team manager, is my understanding, in the US, right? That's who his new
Yeah.
role is. Um, How is that benefiting you as a player? We already saw him walking with you, and I
Mhm.
think he posted on social media about maybe your scooter getting held up, maybe almost not making the flight. But how is he helping you?
Yeah, he's a great guy. Um, he's just so helpful and such a nice person. We didn't know each other that well before, but him joining Latitude 64 has given us the opportunity to get to get to know each other a little better. And I mean, he's not a typical American. I feel like he's very quiet, at least when we have been talking, and modest and just a very like overall very helpful guy. I think he's like a great addition to Latitude 64, because otherwise our communication was via Sweden, but now we have somebody right here that can really help us with some stuff that needs to get done. Yeah, it's perfect.
You have to give me the absolute honest truth, raw and uncut. What is the typical American? How would you describe them? And you will not offend me or our fans.
No, it's not nothing negative. It's just really outgoing, maybe a little loud, uh, very straightforward and honest, I would say. That's a typical
Interesting.
American for me. Yeah.
Interesting. I appreciate you sharing that with us. Nick, I keep going on here. Do you got
Yeah.
any others?
No, I got one.
Okay,
Earlier,
go
we were
for it.
kind of talking about how your last off season has gone with the surgery, rehabbing that. Talk to us a little bit about previous off seasons. We've seen such a kind of rise in your disc golf game with consistency. You're able to throw every single one of the great shots that's out there right now in the game. Just talk to us a little bit about how you trained for all that and where did this consistency come from?
Some previous off seasons, I was just able to throw. So this off season, I basically did not throw at all because I wasn't allowed to do any powerful movements. So I was a little bit afraid how it will turn out. I was able to do some putting, and my putting has been working quite well. But yeah, just trying to dial in all the shots. I guess this is what I've been lacking of.
Okay, so we had fans reach out earlier and they said they're interested in knowing more about where you came from. Not Estonia, but your disc golf background. Um, how long have you been disc golfing? How did you find out about it? A lot of people may have heard this, but you have so many new fans. They're interested in knowing more about you. So tell us how you came to find disc golf and the journey to get here.
Yeah, so I started around 2014, and back then it was a very, very new sport in Estonia, only I think a couple of courses. And I had one near my apartment back then, and I think one of my friends had seen this sport or played it in Finland. Back then it was already popular in Finland. So that's how I found out that this is a sport or a fun game. That's what I thought. And I went out and tried it with my friends. And one thing led to another, and finally they pushed me to take part of Estonian championships in 2014 summer. And I won in playoff, and that's when everything started. I realized this is something that I could do as a competitive sport, and already the next year I signed up to all the PDGA tournaments I could find and just went nuts.
You went nuts, and now Latitude 64 made your contract public. And so we know that you're one of the highest earning FPO players in the sport. We don't know everybody's contract, but we thought that was really awesome that Latitude did that for you. Your career has been great to this point. I think the sky is the limit. Obviously, you don't need me to tell you that. What are your next goals? I mean, just to play the best you can, or do you have a 10-year plan?
You know, what I've realized is that life is so unpredictable. So I try not to make like any huge plans. Obviously, I will play disc golf as long as I find it to spark my eyes, you know. As long as I love the game and feel passionate about it, I will play it competitively for sure. But you can never know what tomorrow brings. So I try not to bother myself too much with these things.
So we have players in the sport like Nate Sexton and Jeremy Colling and Nate Doss, Valerie Jenkins, all these players who are commentating now.
Mhm.
I think one day we want you to compete forever. We would love that. But one day we would love to see you in the booth giving your insight, because I think you are going to have extremely valuable insight as a world champion, right? I think that would be something that'd be really tremendous. Have you ever thought about that?
To be honest, I have never thought about commentating. I think it's a really challenging job. I think it might be even harder than playing disc golf for me.
You
I think
could
people
do
are
it.
a little bit more critical about it.
But she could do it. She could do it. I think as an athlete, you just have to say what you would be thinking in that moment. And I think you have the experience to do that. So when you're over here in the US, you don't bring a car, but how do you get around when you're here? How do you travel around the US?
I typically rent a car. A couple of times, Paul has helped us out and given his car for us to drive around. So that's really nice. A typical thing is to rent a car and just travel around and book some Airbnbs, and that's how it goes.
Wow. Do you feel trapped at all? Like, oh, I wish I had more freedom?
No. I think right now I feel very, very good about with the traveling and everything. It has gone smoothly.
Awesome. Hey, Ben, intern Ben, if you're there, go four up on us. I want to bring Evan and Stat Mando here, tracking all the stats for everything that disc golfers do. He's a part of that team and that startup there. Evan, I'm putting you on the spot, but what's one standout or two standout, really cool stats? You told it earlier. This is our first come from behind win. Is that correct?
Second, going into the final round after 2021 D-Glow. But I do have a really cool one that I'd love to share is the fastest players to get to 10 elite and major wins. So this was your 10th elite series or major win in FPO. That's the third fastest of all time in FPO. The only two that were faster was Juliana Korver and Des Redding, which I believe Korver did it in 2003 and Des Redding did it in 2005. So it's been a long time since we've seen someone eclipse this new mark. So I guess I'm just saying the stat and didn't have a question around it. But what do you make of that in getting to 10 wins so quickly?
Well, thank you for letting me know. I didn't know. It's crazy how things have developed. Again, this is something that I didn't set out to do back in 2014 when I started my disc golf career. To say, it's cool, but I feel like there are more wins out there, so I try not to stop at 10.
Yeah, I don't. When he's using names like Juliana and what was the other name?
Des
Redding. Yeah, Des Redding. And your name's getting used in that. I mean, that's incredible. Awesome for you to be in that group for sure. That kind of leads me to, you probably don't want to talk about your competitors. That's probably not something you do, but like the field, while it's the most strong that it's ever been, I think that's going to be true for the next, who knows how many years, but it's the most strong it's ever been. And you're still winning, which you did last year. You demonstrated that. But we're seeing other players faltering too. And I mean, knock on wood here, I'm not setting you up to falter, but like players are doing that, but you're still holding on. What happens when everybody is on their game? Do you look forward to that when everybody is playing at the top of their game? Do you like that head-to-head competition?
Yes, of course. I mean, I would love to win when everybody is playing good. I think that shows something. I think this is what every athlete dreams about, like having this tight competition. At least I feel that's when I thrive, when I know like we're close and like every shot matters. That's where I feel like I was sort of giving up during the final round in Waco because I took my double bogey and missed my putt. Then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm out of it. So I didn't have that extra push, I felt like. but then again, what if not? You never know. But yeah, I feel like I play my best when it's tight with somebody, and I know that every shot matters. Yeah.
To be clear, I don't want to underplay, Ella Hansen and the performances that the rest of the FPO field put on. Incredible performances. But when we look at names like Paige Pierce and Katrina Allen, and then Valerie Mandujano was out, and other competitors, I'm just saying the field is stronger than ever, and we look forward to the opportunity when everybody is at the very top of their game. Nick, I've kind of got these last closing out would you rather questions. We've never done this with a guest before. You cool with that?
I got a couple brief ones really quick.
Okay.
I think just kind of talking about overseas players in general, European players, we still have yet to see a Disc Golf World Championships make it across the pond right now. But kind of talk to us just a little bit about players in your position. Is it better for them to build their brand coming over into the States? Do you think that's an easier way for them to build their brands, or kind of becoming a great player in their respected countries and then traveling over when they think a skill set is good enough?
Yeah, I think it would be better for them to build it up in their home country and then maybe go further to Europe. And yeah, I think it would be a lot easier that way, because traveling to the US, it's kind of expensive, and not everybody in Europe, they don't have sponsors, and it's a little bit tricky, I would say. So I look forward to the day when World Championships come to Europe and open doors to a lot of European players who actually have a daily job, so they can't really take that much time off of their job to come to the US. I think being a professional disc golfer is more common in the US and not so common in Europe. So maybe bringing World Championships over there, or this year even Disc Golf Pro Tour events, I think that helps as well. But bringing over these big events to Europe, I think it would open doors to a lot of unknown players, so to speak.
Yeah. Now, I think we had known that the 2024 bid for the World Championships was in Nokia, Finland. Do you think that would be the first destination spot for a World Championship overseas, or do you feel like there's another country that maybe people don't know as well, where there could be a World Championship held there as well?
I think Finland holding the World Championships will be very appropriate, because they are known for organizing really good events, and I think they have the resources and they have these beautiful properties over there to pick from. And Nokia obviously is a great place to have World Championships, so I think that would be a very appropriate place.
Now, in your, this is kind of my last question, just revolving around the European players. In your opinion, who is kind of the next European player that we should really be on the lookout for, say in the FPO side and the MPO side, if you have one off the top of your head?
Putting me in a hard spot right now. Well, we saw Anniken perform very well, and she just signed a really good deal with Guru. So I'm looking forward to what she has to offer all of us. And from the MPO side, I hope Linus Karlsson will get his visa thing right, and look forward to him playing here.
And then, of course, Silver. We got to.
I know. I thought this is already something you knew.
Oh yeah, he's my favorite player. I'm rooting for him every single tournament that he's out. He's one of my favorite people to hang out with when we're out on the road together. So it was a bummer not seeing him obviously over in the States so far. We do hope that throughout the year, at least I personally hope that I'll be able to see him at least once or twice this year. And then kind of one little send off. Hannah asked me to shout out your favorite tour dog. And she said it has to be Harrison. But go ahead.
Yes, it's Harrison, of course. I miss him.
That big fluffy. So anyways, Matt, I know you said you had some Would You Rather stuff. So
yeah. We've done Would You, for those who have listened to the Nick and Matt show for years, there was a period of time where we did some Would You Rather questions between us as a group. And I think you probably remember that. But I don't think I've ever done it directly with a guest. So let's ask, this is some of it not related to disc golf at all. So Would you rather have a personal maid or a personal chef? If you had to choose one or the other, which would you choose?
Personal chef, of course.
The food can be awesome. You can clean up after yourself. How about, would you rather be able to speak any language or be able to communicate with animals?
I would like to communicate with animals. I think it would be far more interesting.
I agree. Which animal would you start with? And then what would you ask them?
I see a lot of cows on the road when we travel, so I would like to know what they think when they spend their days there. Yeah.
That is so awesome. I'm really glad I asked that question. Would you rather be invisible or be able to fly?
I would rather fly.
Like, when you envision yourself flying, are you flapping your arms or do you have like Superman? You can just fly just like a jet.
Like a Superman. I would go with that. Yeah, I think it would be such a great view from up there, and just being invisible, there's no point in that.
I think I asked Eagle that question probably about like 5 or 6 years ago. And I think he said it was either invisible or super speed, because he's like, I could pretend to throw the disc and run it to the basket if he was invisible, right? He could stick it in the basket.
Interesting.
Or if you're invisible, you just walk onto any flight, you hide, and then you have free airfare. That's, I mean,
Yeah, but it means like if you're invisible, it means you're like sneaky, and I'm not a sneaky person.
are you like invisible 24/7, or we got to kind of dive into that a little bit more?
If
I
you're
just know that
invisible
I'm
on a
pretty sure
plane,
it's
where
cold.
are you going? Like, you're gonna stand in the aisle and dodge people? Like, you're gonna get like, unless they can walk through you.
Yeah, I don't
But then
know.
you're standing all flight. That sounds terrible.
I'm just saying, I mean, you could even sit out on the wing, who knows? You could just hold on for dear life and, see where it takes you. No, you would just go into the cargo area where all the bags are. I'm sure that's
Freeze
not
to
filled up
death.
to the brim.
Yeah, you
Dude.
freeze to death. You don't have
In
the
all
air,
seriousness.
oxygen,
Yes,
whatever it's called.
It's a horrible story, but a plane coming into Boston a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, somebody was stowed away in the wheel well. And when the wheels opened up on final approach to Boston, it dropped the person out like dead. Like,
Yeah.
it's a real thing.
Oh
I
my
mean,
goodness.
sorry, I just took it to a
Yeah,
horrible
wait.
place.
Yeah, we just got so morbid for
Okay.
a second.
Okay, sorry.
It
was a
Matt,
crazy-
next
Next-
question.
next one, next
we gotta
one.
bring it back.
Absolutely crazy story. Okay, final one. How do I go from that? Here we go. Would you rather win Worlds the next 4 years in a row, but never win another event in the 4 years? Or would you rather win every event for the next 4 years, but no Worlds? That's a tough one.
I would rather win every other event beside Worlds. I think
Okay.
it makes more sense. It's more financially reasonable also.
Okay, I can see that. There's been debates on both sides of that. Like, is Worlds the defining moment for a player, right? Like Paul Macbeth 6 times, you know what I mean? So, but that's a good answer. It's a good answer.
I mean, it is. I of course want to win Worlds and other events, but if I had to choose, I would go with every other event.
I
I
agree.
understand I would win all of them.
It's funny asking a player who can actually go out and win Worlds or every single other event. So when you're asking Joe Schmoes like me, Matt, Evan, and Ben, it's kind of just like I'm like, I don't know how I would answer that. I think world titles, because that kind of etches your name in disc golf history for the rest of time, and especially, I mean, if I'm winning Worlds every single year and I play for another 10 years, I'm a 10-time world champion. So I mean,
Yeah.
There you go.
So there you go.
I just got to win 13.
All right, Kristin, we've asked you a whole bunch of questions. You've given us a bunch of your time, and we really appreciate it. We imagine that you're going to win many more, but whether you do or you don't, we're a fan over at the Nick and Matt Show, as many of our listeners and followers are as well. Thank you for taking the time, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
All right,
Kristin.
bye,
Have a good one.
Kristin. Okay, everybody, that was Kristin Tatar. If you didn't know, that was Kristin Tatar, and that was
Spoiler
fun.
alert, she won Waco.
Yeah. Oh, we're not gonna talk about that anymore. Although Stat Mando, I did see a comment on Stat Mando social media where someone's like, "Really, Stat Mando? You can't wait a few days to let us know who won?" And I'm like, "What?" Like, it's unreal.
It's
So,
kind of their
okay.
job to post about things like that.
You know what I did with that?
No.
I just didn't respond. They can
Yeah,
say that
I
all
know.
they want.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're literally jumping right in with this next interview, but I have to comment. I'm so glad I asked the question about would she rather learn language or talk to animals. You saw her facial expression. That was like the best thing she's ever been asked, and that's really cool. So, but I will say I was taken back and surprised by the cow. I will say that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Like we got a little bit of the perspective coming from Europe, coming from Estonia specifically to the US. I mean, she gets to see a lot of the US, probably definitely more than the average American gets to see.
Yeah.
Just driving around. She gets to see any state she wants to, essentially. And I'm sure through a lot of the Midwest, which is much of our tour, you see a whole lot of nothing. No offense to Midwesterners. You see corn, open fields, cows, like that's what you see. And so you're not seeing horses running alongside the highway. You're not seeing, chicken coop after chicken coop. You're seeing cows. So it kind of makes sense to me why that would be what kind of pops into her mind to be like, hey, how's the weather doing in this random Oklahoma town?
True. If I was in Australia, it would be like I want to talk to the kangaroos. Like
Exactly.
And I guess kangaroos are like our white-tailed deer. They're just everywhere, and I guess they're annoying for most.
And if you're a Harry Potter fan, you'd be called a parcel tongue when you could talk to snakes, and I would totally talk to a snake.
So chat, YouTube listeners, fans of the show, let us know what animal and why, because I think that'd be really interesting to hear which animals people choose. There's got to be some really creative ones that would be beneficial to us. All right, without further ado, intern Ben, we got someone in the green room?
We do indeed.
Okay, there he is. Cool.
Bring him on in.
All right, let's go. Welcome to the show. Current reigning 2023 Waco Annual Charity Open winner, Kyle Klein. Welcome to the show. Whoa, music.
We have two songs going on at once.
Thank you.
What's up, Kyle?
What up?
How you doing?
Hey, man.
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. So fresh off the win, 2023 Waco from the chase card. Spoiler alert, from the chase card, you won this event. Just kind of tell us how it feels. We'll start there.
I mean, it feels great. I mean, that's pretty much what anyone would say after they win a Elite Series. I mean, it feels great. I feel honored to have been able to take that down.
So how would you rank it then?
Yeah.
It feels great, but how would you rank this for all of your wins in your career to this point?
Out of all my wins, I don't have that many, but I'd say probably one or two, I'd say.
Yeah, I guess I just meant
somewhere up there.
You would probably rank all of your elites higher than anything else. So yes, I get to your point. But where, do you rank this one or two? What do you think? Is this a massive win for you, or where do you put it?
It's hard. I mean, I feel like it's hard to rank anything above your first or Elite Series win.
True.
But I'd give it a 1.5.
There you go.
Chase card victory. You're one of like 3 official, I think is how it gets put. Is that true, Evan?
Oh, nope. There's way more. I can find out the exact number, but
it was just the fact that we were doing Discmania.
I was doing the last 4 that happened, and they were all in the 2020s or later. There's been probably 5 or 6 more before that, I think.
Man, I just feel like it wasn't as much of a thing back in the day. But anyways, I'm not Statmando for a reason. Congratulations on that. A 13 down round going into the final round. Did you have a number in your head, or did you say I have to play out of my mind, or what was your game plan going into the final round?
I mean, I was talking to some people and I was asking them what they thought it would take. They'd said around 13, 14. So I kind of kept that in mind. And I really just tried to execute exactly what I wanted to do. Like I had this plan of I have to throw this, make this putt, or just try to get every birdie that I know is possible. And I got most of them.
Did you? So you think you made a mistake or two out there? How many mistakes did you make?
Maybe like 1 or 2 real mistakes. But other than that, pars on holes that I know are hard, and I'm not too upset with a par on.
When you said those 1 or 2 mistakes, did those shots come to mind? Do you know what they are? Can you recall them?
I mean, a tee shot on hole 7. I yanked it, threw it down in like hole 10's fairway. Was able to say par there, and then hole 14. that's a hole that I'll step up to, and I'm I guess not expecting a birdie, but really wanting to get one there.
Yeah, I think kind of going through the, when you can view the hole scores over on PDGA, seeing hole 7 as a par, hole 3 as a par, hole 12 as a par, which is actually a really, really good par, hole 12. But getting the birdie on 9, it's kind of funny. You get the birdie on statistically probably one of the hardest holes on the course with being hole 9. And then, hole number 7 is it's more of a simple point and shoot kind of hole. Did you what is your mindset going on when missing an easy hole like that? Are you thinking like, oh crap, I just lost a stroke to the leader? Or is it just like, you know what, that's one miss, let's get on to the next one?
I mean, it is tough. I'm not going to say it like affects me mentally really, but it did hurt a little bit to miss that hole, knowing that's probably going to be one of the easiest holes on the day.
Yeah. So when you shoot 13 down, I already mentioned that. But when you do that and you say, man, I had maybe like 1 or 2, and you use the quotations in there for our audio listeners, 1 or 2 misses, what is it that Kyle Klein needs to work on? Like, your game better than anybody else. What is it that you're working on in your game that you feel like you can do better?
Just, I guess, general. I mean, I feel like this weekend I was probably better than I have in any other tournaments. Like general cleanliness of play, like keeping it in the fairway, and throwing ideally where I want to. Like I did a good job of that. That was something I worked on a lot this off season.
I was just going to ask, how do you kind of practice that, like throwing where you want to? Like, what does that look like for you?
Spending a month in Charlotte and playing tight woods golf for multiple weeks. That's pretty much that's what it looks like.
What does that take for you though? Like, is that you having to pull back on your power, or is it a more conscious awareness of like, I'm not trying to throw this as far as I can? Like, what is it for you?
Yeah, definitely like learning the control, and learning my disc and learning the angles out of my hand, and knowing how my discs are supposed to fly and what angle I have to put them on to get them where I want to go. That's pretty much what I focus on.
Okay. Hole 15 got brought up a few times in comments to us in the last round. What do you think happened there? Did anybody talk to you about it? Some say maybe your disc went out of bounds and slid under. Do you know what happened there on 15? Do you feel like it was lucky, or what happened?
Yeah, I threw my most overstable distance driver thinking it'd be all right, and it just kind of drifted over. It went over the fence, and then I don't know how, faded at the right time and like skipped at the perfect time and slid right back under. So I wasn't expecting that really. I saw when it went over the fence, I was like, crap, I might just be out of it because this is going to be a tough bogey save from way back where I was. And then I got the green flag, and I was still shocked as I was walking up, finding it 3 feet inbound after I thought it was way out.
Wow. Yeah, that shot looked like it was in the last round. It looked like it was pushing people's discs over a little bit more. So that obviously happened to you, but your heart probably stopped a little bit. You said maybe you thought you were out of it.
Yeah, because I know I've watched so many people just throughout the tournament with a headwind on a hole turn it over and take 4s, 5s, 6s, and I knew it would have been a tough 4. So I thought that was 2 or 3 strokes lost.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, another player on your card, being Cole Redallen, actually did turn it over on that hole and ended up walking away with a double bogey. And that kind of affected his chance. He was making a pretty good push alongside of you, also on the chase card. Just kind of talk to us now going into, you're safe on hole 15. 16 is one of the more relatively easy birdies, but then 17 throwing a great drive, great upshot, and then 18 kind of coming down to where it's 400 plus feet over the water. I think in the day that you guys were playing it, it was now playing into a tailwind, which relatively does make the distance a little bit easier. What did you throw on that hole to put yourself, it looks like probably not even more than a 20-foot putt?
I threw S-line DD3, just a pretty fairly overstable one. I knew just I had to walk up and throw it high, throw it wide, and the wind would carry it. I didn't want to throw it too low because I saw too many people throw it low and just flare skip way out of bounds long.
Yeah. So you've won from a lead card, Idlewild, correct? Evan, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's correct.
And it was a playoff, correct?
Yes.
I want to make sure I got this right now that I'm screwing things up. So You won in a playoff from a lead card, and now you have a come from behind chase card victory. What is there a different mindset going into those rounds? I already talked about like what was your game plan, but like now that you have the experience for both, does that give you experience going into other rounds where you might be a chase card or a lead card? Different mindset. How do you feel? How do you use this experience? I'll just get it out. How do you use the experience to better you going forward?
It really just it cements some belief in my brain that even if you're on chase card, it doesn't matter what card you're on, as long as you're within X amount of strokes, you're still right there. It doesn't matter what card you're on, but it's not over and you're not out of it just because you're on chase third card.
That's awesome. So how is Marky Chap on the bag? He's a guy from up here in the Northeast.
He was great. He asked me the day before if I wanted it, and I told him maybe. I'll see the day of. And he played that morning, and he asked again. I'm like, sure, let's give it a chance. So it was kind of just a quick forming thing that worked out great.
So that's awesome. That's awesome. Did he do anything really annoying, or no? It wasn't too bad.
The only thing I can think of, sorry, Mark, if you're listening to this, but hole 17, we were walking down after I was parked for the birdie, but he walked down and said, "You've only been in one other playoff, or you've only lost one playoff for a big tournament, and the guy right over here beat you in it." Pointed to Paul for USGDC. And I'm like, "Thanks, Mark.
Oh, God.
That makes me feel great." But there was. I feel like I had too much nervous energy to really be mad at that. And I wasn't even mad. I laughed at it.
Yeah.
Now, kind of quickly talk about what is nervous energy to you. We've seen some people, nervous energy, creates yips for them. How do you deal with it? And what is that like? What does nervous energy feel like for you?
At least it feels different. I feel like every time I played, this time especially, it was I couldn't get like my legs under control. Like my legs were shaking. I was like, I felt more nerves that in that final 9 holes than I felt in any other tournament I've ever played. So it was just like trying to get my breathing under control. Like my heart rate was way up, and I was telling myself to take deep breaths the whole time.
Gotcha. Now, 2023 has been kind of the year of news stories so far. We've seen Gannon Burr news stories going on. We've seen players leaving contracts. We've seen players moving. And one of the big notable players is Simon Lizotte moving from Discmania over to MVP. Now, that kind of opened up the role of the Crush Boy. Eagle having kind of a lackluster tournament at this one, you taking down the win. What does this feel like with Simon leaving? Not that you're playing kind of in his shadow, but what does it feel like with Simon leaving Discmania and now kind of opening up that number 1 or number 2 spot in the organization? How does that feel for you?
It feels like I just have, it's cliche to say, feel like I have shoes to fill. Like he left and now I feel like someone had to take his place. I feel like Simon and Eagle were number 1 and 2. One of them left, and I feel like somebody has to be in that number 2 spot, and I feel like I have to be there. And again, I'm not putting too much pressure on myself to be there, but I know that deep down that's what I want to be.
Yeah, Nick, I'm glad you asked that question because I had a similar question, and I think you answered it, Kyle. But so you feel like, I don't want to say in a weird way, but Simon's departure has inspired you. Is that correct?
A little bit, yeah.
It's weird to say like Simon move along, but now that he has, as you said, it's kind of like, hey man, now I can step up to that. Evan, I want to throw it over to you. You mentioned an interesting stat earlier. I'm going to give it to the stat professionals here. I think it had to do with top 30 finishes. Is that correct, Evan?
Yeah, it does. I have the exact number in a second. Hold on. I'm getting slow to doing it. But you've made top 30 in every single event you've played in the last 2 seasons, and then it dates back to a couple of events back into 2021. It is 27 straight events, and Gannon Burr has the most at 28, and that's the most that anyone has for an active streak. So I have a question going off of it, Matt. I don't know if you had something that you were planning, but a lot of people, I think, said last year your season was a little bit underwhelming. You got the win in 2021, and in 2022, we maybe didn't see your name at the top of the leaderboard. I don't say that. I actually was, I'm going to say it, one of the defendants, but I do want to hear what you think about people who say that. Meanwhile, you're getting top 30 after top 30 after top 30.
I mean, I'll be the first one to say that I wanted more than anything to follow up my 2021 with an even better 2022, but unfortunately it didn't pan out that way. But I feel like I still had decent finishes, but I feel like it took me a longer time last year to get into the flow of it and get those top 5s, top 10s than I did the previous year. And it always seems like in that Midwest swing, I kind of pick it up. So my goal this year was to not wait for that.
Yeah. Were you aware of that stat at all? Maybe not the exact number of how many in a row, but were you aware that you haven't placed outside of top 30?
I mean, I wasn't thinking about it, but I saw it for the first time and I kind of thought, hey, that's, I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
but
Gannon Burr, the only other one. And so now you guys have something to compete for there. But I think it's incredibly awesome. I mean, the best players in the world, you included, but there's only 2 of you that are left not having placed outside the top 30. So let's keep that streak going. That's pretty cool. Although when you get a 28, 28th though, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, not great. I had a couple bad ones last year that I didn't feel too great about.
Okay. Go ahead.
I want to dive into the back 9. So Waco is known for having a scoreable front 9, and then the back 9 right around 10. It gets pretty tough when we see less good scores. Everyone kind of plays a couple strokes worse on those. But looking at your scores, you were 16 under on the back 9 and 15 under on the front 9. 16 under was the best throughout the whole tournament of anyone on the back 9. How did you feel when you were attacking those holes?
I mean, I've said it before. I knew I had a game plan to stick to. I knew where I wanted to throw and what I was going to throw. So I wasn't too worried about being off the fairway because I felt comfortable with my throw. I felt comfortable with the distance I was throwing. So I mean, even with the headwind, some of the holes back there aren't too hard. I mean, 15 is the only real one that comes to mind. I'm probably not going to birdie this hole. So almost every other one, I'm looking to attack for some sort of look for birdie.
Okay. I don't know if anybody else has any more tournament questions. Evan,
I do.
Nick? Okay, go ahead,
Yep,
Nick.
I do. We just recently, literally 20 minutes ago, had Kristin Tatar, winner of the FPO division, on, and she was talking about how going into the final hole, she actually didn't really know the scores going on and what was happening around her. She had kind of lost a little bit of that mentality. You coming from the chase card, putting together a very solid round after every single hole. Are you checking the scores? You know, obviously you heard the cheers when Adam Hammis gets an ace on hole 8. Are you checking the scores every single hole though to figure out where you're at?
I think I first check scores after hole 9. That's kind of something I do pretty much every round just to get an idea of, like, after 9 holes, how's it going? Where am I at? And then I kind of go from there. So I did the same thing yesterday, and then I think I checked them every 2 or 3 holes just to update myself on what I need to do and where I'm at.
Yeah, so we had my brother Josh comes on the show now almost on a weekly basis, and he gives us what he's thinking about current things. And he kind of said, for the drama of from the fans' perspective, we want the players to know the score so that they have to deal with that ice in their veins. Like that's something that's like, I mean, when you watch sports, I don't know if you have other sports that you like to watch. It's exciting to know, right? When something's on the line, a big moment. But you did it. We knew that you knew because you almost parked at hole 18. You knew you had to do that to kind of secure it, and you did it. And I think that's a big moment. So good job there.
Thank you.
So this is kind of random. Right before we get into Evan's Know Your ABCs, which is a little trivia game we want you to play with us. But right before we get into that, Eagle McMahon on a previous podcast with us, maybe 6 weeks ago. Yeah, there's an alarm going on.
Yeah, I don't know where it's coming from.
How long
I'm in somebody's workout room. Sorry.
So for our audio listeners, he's sitting in somebody's workout room, and an alarm just starts going off.
I got it. It was a stopwatch.
It was a Nico stopwatch.
Yeah.
Dang it. Unfortunately, it was not.
He double checked. So that was fun. I'm glad you went and found that. But so Eagle was on our show, and he used the wording like when I said, we were talking about Simon leaving when it was announced, but we didn't know where Simon was going. And Eagle said kind of like, don't you guys worry. We have an ace up our sleeve. And we being Discmania is my understanding. Do you have any idea what he's talking about?
I don't personally. Okay. I wish I knew because there's been a lot of speculation and rumors, but I wish. But personally, I do not know.
All right. And he wouldn't tell us anything either, but I was a little surprised. Eagle, what are you talking about? Everyone's been going, ace up the sleeves, ace up the sleeve. What is it?
Like, when is it going to happen?
Yeah. All right, cool. A lot of stuff's been going on in the disc golf world, including legal drama between, I don't mean drama, it's serious, but legal stuff happening in contracts and other legal stuff. But like, does this change your perspective at all when it comes to contracts? Like, you already have a contract lined up. When does your current contract end?
I just signed an additional 4 years at the end of last year, so I'll be with Discmania through 2026.
Okay. Does this change your perspective? Obviously, experience, other people's experience we can learn from, like what you'll be looking for maybe in an additional 3 years or so.
I mean, I don't know exactly how to answer that.
Or are you happy, like you think the way your contract is now, meaning all the options or things that you have in there, like you think it's pretty solid? You know what I mean? Like you're like, I'm happy
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we did a good job and figured out, met at a good spot.
Okay. And I'm kind of curious about this part because I know that you started when you were young. You won the Next Gen Tour. You were 17 when you did that, or
yeah,
16. Okay. So you're now what, like 20? Okay. So it's not a big deal, but like we're seeing obviously with Gannon, like he's a minor and all this, but you did your own contract. Did you use a sports agency at all to do this contract?
Yeah, I was with Beacon Sports Management. Worked with Xander from there, and
awesome.
He did a great job.
Shout out to them. That's actually how we got a hold of you, I think. Is that how they did?
Nice. I believe so. I believe he was the one who told me that you guys wanted me to be on here.
Cool. Awesome. See, it's great. We have sports agencies now. We say, hey, we'd love to line up Kyle, and they go, hold on, we'll work on that. And here you are. So, okay.
Works out nicely. Managers and agencies.
Let's throw it over to Evan. Know your ABCs. Kyle, this is a casual trivia game, but you can be as competitive as you want.
All right.
Ooh, that's a good catch line right there. Are we just going right into it? Ben,
yeah.
I don't have any music. I don't
deserve it.
Sorry. You can do it. All right.
Nice. All right, a little outro music. But to bring us into the intro of Know Your ABCs, I'll ask a question, and you'll have 3 options to choose from, A, B, or C. So let's get into it. We talked about your top 30 streak. What I'm going to is the longest all-time MPO top 30 streak. So who has the longest all-time MPO top 30 streak from elite and major events only? We got A, Ken Climo, B, Dave Feldberg, or C, Paul McBeth. Who has the longest all-time MPO top 30 streak?
Yeah, right. I feel like you could flip a coin for all 3 of them. But I'm going to go with my gut reaction. My initial gut reaction was Ken Climo. My second would be Paul, but so A is Ken Climo, right?
And your third would be
Feldberg.
Right, yeah, there's 3 options.
But Climo is number A. It's A.
All right. Over to Nick, if you're ready.
I'm going to go with my gut feeling, and I would say C.
Paul McBeth. Kyle, what are you thinking?
Okay, I don't want to tie with any of you guys. I'm going to go B.
Ooh.
If I'm gonna get it right, I'll get it.
All right, we got Ben. You said B.
Yeah, Feldberg.
All right, we got 2 for Feldberg, 1 for Climo, 1 for McBeth. Somebody or multiple people are right. The correct answer is A. Ken Limo with 117. Dave Feldberg was a good guess. He's actually third, with his longest streak being 88. He also has another streak within the top 10 of this list at 58. Those two streaks have one DNF in between them. Otherwise, combined, it would have been the longest. And then C, Paul Macbeth is no slouch himself at 83. There's actually one name that's higher than Feldberg and Macbeth that I think is worth saying. Nate Doss with 105.
I was going to say Nate Sexton for a second because I was like Mr. Cash, but all right.
He cashes, doesn't necessarily. He doesn't even. He has a one event active streak of top 30s. He got cash in Vegas, but not a top 30.
I'll take the point. I just went with my gut, but part of my thinking was like, how big was the MPO field back then? And you think I would know more about that, but I feel like there's probably more opportunities to not get outside the top 30.
That was my initial thought too.
But who knows?
Not just field size, but quality of it too. The amount of players who are touring within that compared to, your. I was going to make a joke and say you're Nick Carls of the region, but that's a little harsh. So.
That's strike one for you tonight. You and Ben, both you guys about to get booted.
Let's go.
I can't toss up a good joke, Nick. I think higher of you than that.
Oh, that's
I'll give it to you because you are wearing a Discura UPF hoodie. You can check them out at DiscuraDG.com.
And by by the way, this is yours one too, not the other one.
Perfect. It's got my logo on it.
I don't have a camera looking
turn around 360.
All right. Maybe another day. Number 2. Over the past week, what country had the most 1,000 rated rounds outside of the U.S.? And that is based on the event location, not the players. What country had the most 1,000 rated rounds in the past week outside of the U.S.? We got A, Finland, B, Canada, or C, Germany.
Wow.
You're tricking us here.
Finland, Canada, or Germany, A, B, or C. The most 1,000 rated rounds in that event, doesn't matter where the player is from. They could be from any country. A, Finland, B, Canada, C, Germany. Let's start with Nick this time.
I'm going Canada, B.
All right, Kyle, what are you thinking?
I'm going to go Germany.
All right, C, Germany. Ben, what do you got?
I think Finland's a setup to trick us, but I'm still going to go with it. I'm going with Finland.
Matt, over to you.
You're pulling a me, Ben. That's a me thing to do. I think the clarifier where he goes, it doesn't matter where you're from. It's just the country is a purposeful there. And I'm trying to think who would have more players outside the country playing in the country. I'm going Canada with Nick.
All right. The correct answer is C, Germany.
No.
Kyle getting a point there. Isn't that wild?
Trick question.
That is really wild.
Ben,
what are the numbers we're talking about?
Ben, you read it 100%. Finland was there. It wasn't even, it was, I was 5th on the list, I guess. But I bumped it up because I'm like, hey, it's Finland. But it is Finland. Winter, I think, still there. It's winter here, so it's got to be winter there.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I'm like, Canada and Finland are like under snow right now.
They're
what
huge.
about Germany?
They've had a lot of events going on.
I mean,
Germany.
I guess I don't.
Yeah, Germany had 8 1,000 rated rounds. Spain had 5. Spain wasn't on the list, but they had 5.
I was gonna say I thought it was Spain because I knew they played. There was like some tournament there that a lot of Europeans went to.
Oh, I should have used that then.
No kidding.
Canada had 3 and Finland had 1. The U.S. did have a whopping 342.
Wow. Well, if I was wearing my hat, I'd take it off for Kyle. I thought no way Germany for some reason. I don't know why, but there you go.
I did mean to look up what event had happened in Germany and just kind of see a little bit of it. I didn't get to that, but
it was
Germany
at one event. One event, like they didn't have multiple events.
Well, I can find that. Well, by the way, this is all on Statmando Monday on the site. I just pulled it straight from the site. Didn't even do my own queries and stuff. Germany
that's how good Statmando.com is.
It is great. Germany had 2 events, 68 players, 171 total rounds, 8 1,000 rated rounds. Finland only had 1 event, but they did have more players. They had 88 players. But this specific list didn't say what division. It could have been, 88, MA2 players. Shout out to my division. Not getting any 1,000 rated rounds. All right, let's bring it into the final question. We got Matt with 1 point, Kyle with 1 point, Nick and Ben sitting with the goose egg. What is the most number of players in a single playoff for elite and major events? The most number of players in a single playoff. So it's obviously at least 2. But the question is, how high can it go?
Oh, wait.
Ever in elite and majors, either division. We got A, 2, B, 3, C, 4.
To be clear, you're saying historical, what has happened actually.
Yes.
Okay.
What is the most number of players in a single playoff for
who's
elite
first on
and
this one,
major
Evan?
events?
I think Kyle's first on this one.
Ooh, it is Kyle first. I said it up
I
so
know.
the guest-
Okay, I know 3 has happened. I'm trying to remember if I've ever seen 4.
Didn't we think that almost it was going to be like a 3 or 4 when you were going to a playoff, Kyle? Wasn't there something like that? It was really close. It was
Yeah, at Idlewild, there was like going into the final hole. There were 6 people tied at at 24 under.
It was close.
Wow.
It was close.
And-
so,
Yeah.
but I don't know. What do you think?
I'm gonna go 4. I'm gonna go C4.
Oh man, who's up, Evan? Me?
Go ahead, Ben.
Ben.
All right. I think it's gonna be B3 because another trick question from Evan. He wants us to pick 4.
Dang it!
Yeah,
No,
I got this.
we
Yeah.
got
Ben,
big
yeah.
stats over here.
Well, now no matter what, I can't win. Matt can still win. Oh no,
No, we can
No,
tie.
no, because Ben only has 0.
Come
All right, I'm
be with me.
yeah.
yeah,
Unless
I'm going
Matt
B. I'm
chooses-
going B because I think it's 3, but at the same time I need to not choose what Kyle chooses. So
And Matt, don't you
Steve
dare.
Falco
Don't you
rule
dare,
would
Matt.
say that I can't pick what he did. I mean, whatever. Long story short is
You
I
got
actually,
two ways you could go.
if I want to
Yeah.
make sure that one of us wins, I have to pick 3, and I think it's 3. That's the most that I can remember, so I'm going with 3.
All right, so we do have 3 3s and 1 4 for Kyle. If
Kyle's
Kyle
about
gets it
to
right,
win.
he's the sole winner. If it is 3, Matt is the
No.
sole winner
Matt.
with a 3-way tie for second. The correct answer is B, 3. We have never seen a
read your
4-way
mind.
playoff in elite
Uh,
and majors. Yeah, I don't know how that was a trick question. I knew you guys weren't going to guess 2, but I have to throw it in. But 3 or 4, like that's the question right there. It's pretty straightforward. I was trying to trick you with Finland.
there's
but-
really never been 4 in any Elite Series or majors.
Nope. There has though been a 4-way playoff at the Skellefteå Open. This is from the Statmando Charity Trivia Show, if you remember. I don't have it pulled up right now, but I'm like 99% sure I remember it was Evelina Salonen winning a playoff. It was a Eurotour event, to be clear, so not an elite or major. Evelina Salonen winning a playoff over Kristin Tatar, Katrina Allen, and Paige Pierce. And I think it was 2018 Skellefteå
Got it.
Open. But that's a Eurotour, not an elite or major. We have never seen 4. I did have the bonus being the last time it has happened. I don't know if anyone has quick immediate guesses before I say it in 5
2014
seconds.
USCGC.
That is the second most recent occurrence.
it
Um,
was shoot.
Oh, you know it.
It was Nick Hyde, wasn't it? It was 1 year at Nick Hyde. There was 3, I think.
No, I don't have it on my
No?
list here.
Maybe that was 2.
2018 D-Glow.
What year?
Oh man, I'm trying to look for the Nick High. It was 2017.
This the playoff in 2017.
There's a playoff in 2017 with 3 people.
Was it MPO or FPO?
It was MPO. There's actually, I don't think there's ever been a 3-way tie in FPO.
It wasn't Nick Hyde.
Huh.
No, I'll have to look that up. I don't have that on this
What-
list.
All right, Evan, give it to us.
It was Hall of Fame Classic.
I was going to say Hall of Fame Classic.
Oh
And
gosh,
Oh,
Is that the
I
one?
knew that.
Hamas one, or is that too early?
no, that 2019 was the one that Hamas
Okay.
lost, or 2020.
This might have been.
That
oh,
was
man.
19.
This was Paul Simon and
2017
Ricky,
Hall of-
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got to look it up for sure.
Paul
But
Simon
that
and
sounds right.
Ricky.
Well,
Yeah,
While you
Ricky
look
took
it
it
up-
home,
Forgot about that one.
and you guys got it exactly right. Paul and Simon were the second place finishers.
wow,
Who'd you say won it? Ricky did.
Ricky did. Yep.
Nice.
that's
And then in
fun.
2017 went on to win Worlds that year. at the same location.
All right, Kyle. We appreciate the fact that you came on. Is there anything that we missed to talk about that you just want to offer up and say, hey, why didn't you guys ask me about this?
I don't have anything like that, but I do want to say, intern Ben, you have my condolences with the chip thing from the other week. That was the funniest. That was one of the funniest thing I've ever watched.
Thank
Hold
you.
on. Go full screen, Ben. Go full screen. Intern Ben, he's up. Do it again. Do it.
No, not again. Not
Okay.
again.
Not again.
All right.
Dude, I have a year break from eating another hot chip.
Yeah, you've earned it.
Horrible. So
That's
that's
hilarious.
awesome. Kyle,
Kyle,
we
where can the people support you? Where, what signature series disc do you have? Tour series disc? Where can people help you out?
Let's see. I'd say discmania.net, but I think my Midnight Pearls are sold out, unfortunately. But GreatLakesDisc.com has my fundraisers. If you want to go pick some of those up, they're awesome. Whale Sacks, I have signature Whale Sacks there, and then I think Grip Patches on Grip's website. Those are you can go there.
So check him out. Kyle Klein Disc Golf on Instagram. Kyle, thank you so much for coming on. Good luck the rest of the way. Congratulations once again, 2023 Waco Annual Charity Open winner.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Badass.
And thanks for being a viewer or a listener at least once. We know you know
I
about
know, you
intern Ben,
watched,
so
you watched
we
it.
appreciate
Let's
it.
go.
If- Yeah.
Ben, I'll put you on the spot. Do you have one of Kyle's fundraiser discs?
I have a
Nope.
Origin, not Meta. No,
I mean
I'll have to go buy
that's a
one.
step.
I'll
That's
have
a
to go
step
buy
in
the
one.
right
now. I
direction,
will. I do
Lance.
throw the Origin, so I'll have to buy another
right.
one.
It used to be a thing where intern Ben would come in whenever he heard the guest, and he would bring in their like tour disc or whatever they had. Because
Pete,
look,
Yeah, you had a ton of the Kristin
He's
Tatar
got a
ones.
bunch of Chris.
yeah. So,
if
anyways,
anyone wants
we
to
do
buy one, hit
appreciate
me
your
up.
time.
I'm a reseller now. Let's go.
We appreciate your time, Kyle, so much. Next time you do something that people want to know more about, I've got your phone number. I'll hit you up. We appreciate it, man.
All right. Sounds good.
Peace
All right,
out,
have
bud.
a good one. Peace out.
You guys too. Yeah.
Well, that was Kyle Klein, as everyone knew. That's who we were just talking to.
So
Go
while
ahead, Nick.
it's on my head, really quick, while it's on my head, and I don't know the official ruling on this, but if there's a 6-way tie in a playoff, do they split up the cards 3-3, or do they run a 6-'em?
I saw that question getting tossed around. I
Yeah,
think
go
the
with-
answer would be that they would do a 6'em. That's my understanding of what I think it
Now, what
should
if-
be, would be the wording I would go with, because I think there would be an unfair disadvantage to
Yep.
not being on the card. And how could it be sudden death unless they were doing like this group gets eliminated down to 1, and this
Yeah.
group gets. I think it's going to have to be a 6'em if it ever happens.
Okay.
I would assume the same.
Just
I bet-
curious, like, what if an 8-person, and I'm talking at like your local C tier, like
Mob
somehow,
golf, dude.
some way,
Mob.
an 8-person playoff happens. Do you
Mob
just roll
golf.
an 8-some or 2
Yeah.
4-sums? I'm
No.
just curious because of how many people were in contention towards the beginning of the final round at Waco. It was pretty nuts. Like looking
Yeah,
down
which-
the UDisc leaderboard.
Which on that, do you want the stats on that?
Yeah, let's.
Give us a
Give me
few.
the
I've got
stats.
some other topics to round out the show, but give us those stats.
I just have the one, but
Yeah, give me those stats.
the one about this one is that was the most players within 3 strokes of the leader going into the final round of an Elite or Major event. Oh man, I need to have this like right in front of me, but going off of memory with this, I'm like pretty sure it beat 2021 Idlewild. Well, it
Ooh.
obviously beat it because it was the top all time. I'm pretty sure that
Yeah.
was the
But down to the
previous
last hole.
top-
But down to the last hole
but
where
it's
there's
not-
6 people
It's
tied.
not by hole. It was just by going into the final round.
Yeah.
That we need to go on live scores, which we could do for that tournament, but not you just can't do it all time for Elite Majors.
Interesting.
But there was one which, oh man, I gotta look this up real quick as I'm talking. I'm gonna try my best. I'm going for it. But there was one event on a silver event that had more going into the final round, and it was the 2021 Mid America Open. Which is that not the one that Kyle also won?
Kyle also won that one.
Yes, that's interesting. You know what's
I'm like-
interesting? Evan, this is interesting, and have your guys or you look into this, because the one he won at Idlewild was insanely close with a large group. You're telling me Mid America was, and then this one he just did. Is there something about Kyle Klein? We need to find out, that when this is the case, like he's gonna pull off the win. That's interesting.
Yeah, hold on. I can get that actually really quick. I have pretty much the exact thing pulled up.
We need the
And-
Gannon Burr. Yeah, like what was he doing? Imitating you?
Yeah. All right. Now that I think about it, yeah, it wasn't Idlewild as next post. Yeah, it was Dogwood Crosstown Classic was the next highest. I'm actually trying to think where Idlewild was. I guess it wasn't a lot going into that round. I don't even see it on this list very high.
No, it was literally the last like 2 or 3 hole, 1 hole even.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like this exact criteria. I think I might have saw it all the way down. No, that's 2017. Oh well, yeah, I'm not sure. But the previous record was the 2004 Dogwood Crosstown Classic in NT in North Carolina. But yeah, Mid America Open in 2021. That is correct. A Silver Series event had 12 players within 3 strokes of the win, and that was Kyle Klein taking it down. So we'll have to do it going into the final hole or last 3 holes or something like that as well for recent years and see kind of what the records are.
I'm stuttering here because I think it's going to start happening a lot more. Like I honestly think this is going to be much more common. Now, I thought it was a very high likelihood of going to a playoff at Waco, as did Brian Earhart on the ground, as did everyone in the booth, as did everyone watching. But in our heads, we all said, yeah, but one person can kind of just play just a little bit better, 1 stroke better, and that's what happened. But I still think it's going to happen more often. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I want to say quickly, it depends a lot on the course. Waco's one with a little bit less course separation, less like raw distance. You're going to see more there than you will.
It was so fun to watch.
At like OTB, I don't want to throw that under the bus. Like OTB, Portland, like these kind of newer golf courses are a little bit longer, and so you're going to have the big arms stretch a little bit more and just have a little bit more score separation, which is a good thing sometimes. It's like a trade-off, more packed finishes with more players, or kind of a better player wins kind of scenario. I'm trying to quickly say the words in it, but I think people get what I mean.
Okay. I've got 1 or 2 topics left to actually discuss as we get closer to rounding out the show here. But I did think it was interesting, the announcement at the very least that Dynamic Disc was now purchased, or an investment firm, or what is it? What's the name of it?
A hedge fund, House of Discs.
A venture
House
capitalist.
of Discs. Thank you.
Venture
Thank
capitalist.
you. House of Discs. Yes. They had already owned or purchased or invested in Trilogy. They now have taken Castoplask, Dynamic Discs, West Side, and Latitude. Did I miss any? I don't think so.
No, it's Latitude, West Side, Dynamic Disc, and then Castoplask, and then there's also Hand Eye. That's
that's
I think
what
under
it was.
under Dynamic Disc.
Yes, that's right.
Not a manufacturer.
So it's interesting. Money is starting to show up in other places, and people that are seeing an opportunity are putting their money there. So that's interesting. At the very least, you can find that all out at dynamicdisc.com/blogs or whatever. You can go check that out. But here's a fun topic that we had inside of our chat, our group chat prior to Waco. We saw conversations on the interwebs about this. I think the interwebs is a Terry Miller term, interwebs. Sorry.
Is it?
But was Paul Macbeth's round at Waco considered perfect? The wording was, would you consider it perfect? And I'm going to give you my thoughts. Evan will give you his, and Nick can round it out as the friend of Paul Macbeth. He can say whatever he needs to.
Yeah. Can we set the ground stage real quick? So what's in question is not whether or not an 18 under. Well, it's whether an 18 under in general is a perfect round, or if you need to birdie or better every hole, or whatever criteria is your term for a perfect round.
Absolutely. I would say that what we're trying to decide here is, do you think his round was perfect? And you can define that how you would like to. So I will start off by saying, I do not think it was a perfect round. There, I got it out. Could probably stop talking. Some of you would be happy with that.
Yeah, but before you throw yourself under the bus.
Yeah. So I don't think it was perfect. Well, the implication or the idea of when perfect comes to mind, it means no mistakes. Now, you could argue that, and I'm okay with someone making the argument that no mistakes were made. There was no bogeys out there. There was a par. So that's not a mistake. Then you can make the argument that all pars in a round, 18 pars is perfect because there were no mistakes made. So I'm not sure that it's arbitrary, but birdies were decided to be, in most people's minds, the goal for each hole. Okay, birdie or better. The fact that he parred one, yes, he eagled, so you could say he made up for it. But I think at the end of the day, we want to see birdie or better being the perfect round. It's just a feeling I have. I don't really have much to stand on. Evan, as I close out my thoughts, I'll toss it to you because you kind of brought me down this roadmap of how baseball works, and I'll let you bring that up. But it sent me over to another sport that I used to do, which was climbing, rock climbing. And there was different ways to accomplish climbing a route that was set out before you. One was without having any knowledge of that route or practice of it. The first time you open your eyes and you take 10 seconds to get onto that wall and you start climbing it, if you do it the first try without any mistakes and top out, I forget what I call it, but it has a term. Then there's a term for being able to see it, look at it, practice it in your mind for, let's say, 5 or 10 minutes, and then climb it without mistake, being able to make it to the top. And then there's the opportunity to climb and practice, and do it, climb to the top without a mistake. They all have different terms, flash, I think, red point, and on point. But what I'm trying to make a point here is they all completed it without mistake, but there was a different way to do it. I kind of feel like with disc golf, we need a different term, some term other than perfect. We need to make up a term for it. If you go all birdies, or if you do what Paul did, 18 down should have its own term, because 18 down could be what Paul did, or it could be all birdies. Anyways, share your thoughts in the comments. Evan, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree that it's all about the term. I think we just need a new, slightly different term for 18 down. What I will say, what I think a perfect round is birdie or better on every single hole. You could get an eagle on one and 17 birdies on the other. If it's an 18-hole course, that is fine with me. I don't think we need to go above and beyond. Like I think we mentioned, a perfect round would be acing every hole, or getting an eagle or better on every hole. I'm not going to go that far. Yeah, you can have a pitch and putt course where you call everything a par 4. So yeah, you should birdie or eagle everything. I'm not going to go there, but I think
Paul's round wasn't perfect then, right?
I don't think that Paul's 18 down were perfect, neither of his, because they're both 16 birdies, 1 eagle and 1 par. I think the analogy I'm making is to baseball, that Paul McBeth threw a no-hitter. He did not throw a perfect game. And a perfect game is when you get every single batter, their plate appearance, you get them out. You don't let any walks. You don't let any, well, not necessarily you, but there aren't any errors to let those players get on base. No players ever get on base. A no-hitter is where you don't let up a single hit. You might walk some players. You might get some errors in the field, but no one got a hit off you. To me, that's what Paul McBeth's 18 down was, although probably more rare than a no-hitter. So there's some term that's like, it is perfect. Like, I get why you could call it perfect. I understand the reasoning that people have called it that, but I do think it's time to switch something where perfect is birdie or better. And we just need a slightly different term to be like 18 under. And I don't want to call it an amazing round. Like, that's
we'll make up a word
more than an amazing, but yeah, it's like
submit your ideas. But I want to say this, the fact that we're talking about this how many years later, kudos to you, Paul. You did something incredibly special. Whether we call it perfect or not, it was 18 down, and it was impressive. Very impressive. I mean, this is just the fun of podcasts. We can talk about anything.
And this is, that's twice that Paul has done it. And I think, because I've played both courses that he's shot 18 down at, and the Deglow one is way more impressive in my eyes than the Waco one. But kind of getting off of that, to me, that round is not perfect. I don't think either of those 18 downs are perfect, because he technically did par a hole on it.
Has Paul ever told you if he thought it was perfect?
I don't know if I've really ever asked him. I think one of the things that I've asked him before is like, what round was better, the 17 down at Fountain Hills, or the 15 down or 16 down at Maple Hill, or the 18 down at Deglow? Obviously, with the 18 down over at Deglow getting the publicity that it did on like ESPN, and kind of being the first one at an Elite Series event on such a big stage, was huge. But the Fountain Hills 17 1132 rated round was, to compete for a playoff, and then ultimately losing in the playoff. So there's tons of different stipulations with it. But neither the Deglow round or the Waco round, I think, are perfect because of that 1 par. Now, if you're looking at, and this is my own personal opinion on it, if I'm looking at what is a perfect round, I'm thinking of what is the physical capability of like what's the best possible outcome on a hole to that person's physical capability. So if Paul could technically eagle, like he could reach every one of those holes, it's realistic that if you gave him 1,000,000 shots, he would eagle that hole at least once. If he was to score the best that he possibly could on each hole, that would technically be a perfect round. Some people would argue that just getting a birdie or better, because that is a good score, or it's a score that you're aiming for. 18 birdies would be a perfect round. But I think that if you were to play, a par 4 that's 500 feet, every single one of these players that's on the top level could go out and eagle that hole. If it was a wide open 500-foot hole, that was called a par 4. Each one of those players could go out and eagle that hole. So physically, they could score better than just a birdie on it. So I think if that was kind of the way that it was, then that to me would be a perfect round. If they did the best that they possibly could on a hole, then I don't know, that would be the perfect round.
Well, and
at
I
the same
actually
time, there's so many different. We were talking about this in the chat, and I remember saying, "Oh my," because Evan brought it up originally, and I was like, "Oh my God, why are people bringing this up?" Because it was the third text that I got that day about like what is a perfect round, and I was hanging out at a bunch of buddies' houses this week, 2 weekends ago, and we were getting into playful arguments about this. But at the same time, it was like no one. It's very rare that people actually agree on what is the perfect round, and I think disc golf is one of those things where there's not really a perfection to it. It's like golf is not perfect. Disc golf is not perfect. In darts, you can have a perfect leg. You could technically have a perfect set because there are ways that is actually achievable. But in disc golf, it's different because it's like, hey, Paul could technically ace every single one of these par 3s because he can reach all those holes. And that is technically the best possible score that he could get on it. So that would be a perfect score.
What does Paul consider it? I by the way, I sent Paul a text message. Yeah. I sent him a message and I said, "Do you consider your Waco -18?" I put in quotes, "perfect?" ? Now he has 5 minutes before we can let the show know. If he doesn't get to it, we'll have to find out later.
Hey, Siri,
we can fill him
call
in next
Paul.
week. Yeah, we can call him up.
Well, so here's my quick thought to your thought, Nick, is about having perfect mean if it's even possible.
Yeah.
Is I'm sticking with my baseball analogy. This is where I came. It's called a perfect game. I think that's a fair way to go with. A perfect game doesn't mean that you struck out every batter. It doesn't mean that you didn't throw a single ball. It doesn't mean that you like an immaculate inning in baseball is you have 3 strikeouts to get the 3 outs in the inning, and each one was a 3-pitch strikeout.
In baseball,
just total.
You're not looking technically for the lowest pitch count on like 3 straight strikes, because technically you're going to get that batter out. So whether it's a ground out, a fly out, or a strikeout, the person is out. And so that is the objective of the game. In disc golf, the objective is to shoot the lowest possible score.
Totally fair. Right? I'm just saying there's more possible ways to be more perfect, I guess. And yeah, I guess your analogy back to that could be like, oh yeah, you park every hole for birdie. So
there needs to be a term.
Yeah,
there needs to be a term.
Yeah.
Because
so that's I don't even think I don't even think that I would say like, that's when we're going to get way too deep into it. If someone makes a 35-foot putt instead of all 20-foot putts,
yes,
that's going way too far. But I think just kind of going off of what Evan was saying, the objective in baseball is you have technically, legitimately, you have 27 batters come up, more than likely, unless you're the home team, then you only have 24 sometimes. But like 27 batters, you are aiming. Yeah. What's that?
If you're the away team and you're losing, you pitch to 24 batters.
So your objective is to get 27 batters out. Now, there's no perfect way of getting someone out because an out is an out. And so I would say if you get 27 people out in a row, then that is a perfect game. Whether it's strikeouts, flyouts, groundouts, or whatever. I don't think there's any more outs you can get. That to me would be a perfect game.
Okay.
All right. Well, I got one last time. One sentence. I do appreciate the chat saying, yeah, it already has a name. It's just called 18 Down. That's hilarious. Simple enough. That could be the answer, but I do want to hear other people's opinions too. So that's a good spot to throw a comment on this.
I feel like Paul hasn't responded. He's got about a minute or two here to do that. But if Paul's perspective is that he does consider it perfect, what that means is there's going to be outside perspective and then the player perspective, which is like, I'm not a professional, but have I ever thrown what I would consider a perfect round for my skill level? Right now, there's one round that comes to mind. I shot my personal best 1,020. You could probably find it, Evan, but 1,020 something rated. And it was at Maple Hill, 1,020 something. And I can remember in that round, there was one specific throw that I said that was a mistake. One. That is by far the absolute best round I've ever thrown where I could only come up with one throw. And so had I fixed that throw, would I have said I threw Matt Graham perfect round? Maybe. So there's obviously that side of the conversation as well. If Paul says, yes, I consider that perfect, then it's perfect. But maybe not to the fan.
That was a I guess par was 60 on gold, so it was even on golds. You had to write 1023, or at least we're close.
Yeah.
Hot round of the Vibram Open Am side by 4 strokes. You beat Kyle Moriarty by 10 strokes. Kyle Moriarty is a fairly good disc golfer out of Massachusetts.
I don't know what happened, guys. I don't know what happened.
I'm trying to scroll down to see if there's anyone else.
Well, you stayed here. Kyle just went up and up and up.
And when I stayed here, Nick Carl just went up and up and up. And I stayed here.
Go up and up and up.
Intern Ben is going to go up and up.
Yeah.
I just stay here. So guys, I'm in the central time zone, which is very weird for me. I'm like, guys, it's early. It's just now.
Yeah, for you, it's only 8 o'clock right now.
Yeah. But
here's beauty of it. I don't know exactly what time it went dark out, but I remember getting out of the shower at about 6:15, and it was still wicked light out, and I was stoked because that means I get to play disc golf longer throughout the day, and that's super awesome.
Yep.
So, yes, and as part of this time change deal, we had a little bit of text conversation about that today, but trying to correspond with players in different time zones, and then with the daylight's time saving going away, anyways.
No, the daylight savings coming. It's now daylight savings. We have entered
now
daylight savings.
No, aren't they canceling daylight savings?
I don't know what's going to happen. This might be normal
It's
forever,
conspiracy.
but it's not official
I think
yet.
they are.
But here's what I was going to say. And this is just entertaining for me, probably more than anybody else. But last week on Thursday, I traveled from Eastern and I gained an hour going to Madison, Wisconsin. The next day, I flew home and I lost an hour. The next night, it was removing daylight savings time, and I lost another hour. The next day, I flew back here and I gained the hour. So 3 or 4 days in a row, I've gained and double lost and gained. And now when I come back, I'm going to lose the hour again. I literally have no idea when I should eat or sleep, but I am in Central Time right now.
Right now, with Central Daylight Time, you are experiencing the same time as not necessarily to the sun, but the same time as you were all winter long in Massachusetts.
It's right.
Central Daylight Time is now Eastern Standard. So Eastern Daylight Time, we are now moving to what people call Atlantic Time, which is like for the northeastern Canada.
Yeah, what is
We're now pushing east.
I need to talk disc golf, something I actually understand.
So,
what sparked that though, and I just want to have a quick PSA for everyone listening.
Do it.
We're using daylight savings. It's summer. Drop the S when you write a time and you're saying the time zone. EST. Just drop the S. Never ever use it. Just say ET all year long, and we'll understand what you're saying. It came from, Matt was telling us when people were joining, and he was like, "This time EST," and I'm like, okay, I know what you mean, but I'm going to make this a hassle because it is a pet peeve of mine that EST is now actually what you're talking about, Central Time, Central Daylight Time, that is. And so drop the S. Don't even use the D in Daylight Time. Just do ET if you're in Central CT, MT, PT, whatever else. If you're in a different country, then I don't know what you all do there, but just 2 letters. It'll solve everything. And daylight savings is good. We all like daylight savings. We don't like changing to it.
Evan, I have a quick. I just thought of this in my head, and I have to go back to this. What in your eyes in baseball? What's a perfect game?
The same as all fans. So if anyone's saying otherwise, it's getting all 27 batters out during their plate appearance, I think. Is
okay. So pitch count doesn't matter.
Pitch count does not matter. You can throw 1,000,000 pitches and still have a perfect game.
Okay. I was going to say, because someone in the chat, I think it was Ken Chapman actually, was saying in the chat, 27 pitches is 9 outs, but I'm like, okay, what about 9 pitches? That's 9 outs technically. if the guy hits a ball, grounds out to first every single time. 9 pitches.
And with the new baseball rules, you can get a perfect game without even throwing a pitch if the batter doesn't get in the batter's box in time.
But I was thinking in my head, I'm like, technically, the best that you could possibly do is throw 1 pitch per batter. He flies out every single time.
But that was the point I was making.
Dude,
roughly.
Now I'm heated.
Bringing it in. Not necessarily my point, but something I don't know how to do. We're done with that.
I don't know. I don't really know what you would call a perfect game in disc golf.
No, Nick, we're done with it. We're done with it.
All right.
I want to know. I want to know people's opinions, and so I would love for the comment section on YouTube for people to just go off on this, because I'm genuinely curious. Because I think in golf and in disc golf, there's what is perfect. I want to know.
You know what? I have another challenge for the comments. Drop a compliment for Nick and for Matt. Be nice. A genuine compliment that you've thought of but you haven't typed in the chat or in the YouTube comments. You know, not many people comment that what they think positively, so go ahead. I challenge you. Let's go.
Intern Ben is now doing our official closeouts, and we did not pay him to say that, but he's gonna get jerky by the buttload. I'm not
Double G craft jerky.
Boatload, double G craft jerky. And
everybody,
speaking of Cosmic Disc Golf, thank you for presenting this episode. CosmicDG.com presenting episode 129. Nick, go ahead and close us out.
Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in on this absolutely wonderful Monday night. This was episode 129 presented by Cosmic Disc Golf. Check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms. Don't forget to leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Check us out. Monday night, open at Austin. We've never seen the course before. I think Paul and Kristin are going to win it. No one else's picks really matter. Anyways, I'm just kidding. If we want to do picks, we can do picks quick.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
I had a pick.
Wait.
Same quick. Paul and Kristin.
Calvin and Katrina.
There you go. Ben.
Well, hold on.
Chris Dickerson and Ella Hansen.
There we go. Ben. Evan.
I'm going Kristin Tatar for sure. This is loading slowly. I almost want to go Simon. I'm so close.
You can't use stats.
There we go.
But I want to. It's not loading. Okay, I'm sticking with it. I'm going Simon.
All
right, he's going Simon Tatar. I love that. Everybody, thank you once again. Tell someone you love them this week. We'll catch you in the next one.
Ben, you're awesome. Nick, you're awesome. Evan, you're awesome. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.
The Nick and Matt Show, a disc golf podcast designed for you, the disc golfer. Find the Nick and Matt Show on your favorite podcast platforms or join the conversation live on YouTube.